Today, you're tuned into the show with none other than Steve Levy. If you don't know who Steve Levy is, you've been living under a wreck, and I'm not going to give him an introduction because he does not need one.
The biggest problem in this profession is people thinking that recruiting is easy. It's not. You can be average and still make a good living. You can be talent advisor. A lot of us have been throwing that around. You can ascend to that level.
I want to know as much as I can so that I can connect with the hiring manager and be credible, and also be able to speak the language of the candidates that I'm outreaching, because I don't process inbound hires.
If I get a new role that I've never learned, I've never done before, I have to become, in my head, as knowledgeable as the hiring manager of the role. There's no 1% below that. I have to be at that level, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to advise them.
Hey, RecOps friends, are you still losing hours every week to interview scheduling chaos? What if you could eliminate the back and forth, cut scheduling time by 90%, and actually get those recruiter hours back on the hiring desk where they belong? That's exactly why teams are turning to Rooster, the native interview scheduling platform built inside Workday Recruiting that finally makes interview logistics fast, seamless, and predictable. With Rooster, you connect directly to your Workday system. No extra tools, no disconnected workflows, and instantly let candidates self-schedule with one-click booking links. It handles time zone and language differences automatically, sends branded confirmations and reminders via SMS, email, or WhatsApp, and keeps interviewers, coordinators, and candidates in sync without constant manual follow-ups. And it's not just about speed. Rooster helps you see the true cost of scheduling inefficiencies with its TAS metric, so ops teams can track and improve the parts of the process that slow you down the most. Whether your team hires locally, globally, or somewhere in between, Rooster cuts errors, saves 10 plus recruiter hours per week, and creates a candidate experience that reflects the quality of your brand. If you're ready to stop chasing calendars and start hiring with confidence, visit rooster.us and schedule a demo today. Your recruiters will thank you. Now, on with the show. What's up, everybody? Today, you're tuned into the show with none other than Steve Levy. If you don't know who Steve Levy is, you've been living under a wreck, and I'm not going to give him an introduction because he does not need one. Steve, what's up, my man?
There are many people on the planet who have no idea who the curmudgeons of the profession are. You realize that.
And that's exactly why I started this, because I was going to conferences and people didn't know who Jerry Crispin was.
My neighbor.
Let's start there. Who are you? Why does knowing the industry and the folks who have come before us matter?
I am Steve Levy. I've ascended to, if you think of the prison yard in Shawshank Redemption, have read is Jerry Crispin. He's at the top step. And by sheer luck, history, retirement, death, and whatnot, I found a way to ascend up the stairs. I'm still way behind Jerry. The pantheon of people who have, I think, impacted the profession the last 25 to 30 years. There's a whole group of us who are in there who, in the early days, before sourcing became fully agentic, bullshit, all the things that people are using, there's a whole group of us who were part of discovering all that stuff and innovating and playing and going, what would happen if you press this button? Look what we found.
And the curiosity.
So that's all it is. You have people like Ali, myself, Jimmy Stroud, Mike Notaro is no longer doing it, but there's a whole slew of people, Barbara Ling, some of the old days, Richardson, Hughes. There are people who are just innately curious, don't like hearing no, and will always work under the belief that there has to be a way. There just has to be a way.
And I'll shout out new gen, not necessarily in age order, but I'd like to say like Glenn Cathy.
Glenn, my brother from another mother, bald head, chin hair. Shannon Pritchett when she was Shannon Van Curren, before she was Shannon Pritchett.
Yep, sourcing Shannon.
I can go back. You have Jeremy Roberts, Jason Roberts. You have Randy Bailey, Jim Schneider, Cindy Davis Myers. There are so many people, and we all share the common element is that there has to be a way.
There has to be a way. And there's one more name I want to shout out, and it's Erin Matthew, because when I met Erin, I discovered her repo for like basically how to be a tech recruiter. And when I met her, it was like, hey, I stumbled on this blog that you made. It helped me understand tech hiring when I was first getting into recruiting in tech. And she was like, oh yeah, I was building that stuff in real time. So the knowledge transfer that happens in this industry, it is like tribal knowledge. How do you think that plays a part in the AI sourcing tools that keep popping up. I get anywhere between 2 and 5 messages from founders per week, and I'm sure you get that too.
I do. And then when we go to conferences, it's more look at the platform. Oh, by the way, what are you drinking? Oh, buying. It's as if that's the reason why we're going to look at something. I'm an old engineer. I received my engineering degree in 1980. And back then, you didn't have the software. If you wanted software to do things, you had to write your own software. There was no CAD. There was no CAM. There was no, my first ID was an IBM 360 key punch machine. If for those who don't know, talking like those computer cards, that was it. That was the development environment. And quadrille lined paper and a Pentel mechanical pencil. That's how you did software. You had to design it. You architect it in your brain first, architect it on paper, write code. Yeah, that didn't work. It was a process. We learned it a little differently than it's being learned now. And that just extrapolated forward when some of us found things. I mean, I found PCs and I found the internet. I found out that Y2K didn't shut down the whole world because the computers couldn't read 1904. And you just became more and more curious. You go, what would happen? And I don't think any of us, the people that I consider my closest friends in the profession, chose this profession. It somehow chose us.
Why do you think that is?
I mean, you get all of us together. We're all dysfunctionally, wonderful, curiously bizarre, odd people. I love Erin. If I wasn't at an age where I had to worry about glycemic index, I'd like to be in her kitchen every time she bakes a new cake. By the way, that's it. We're so close. We know all these things about each other. Erin came into this profession and you fall into a community. And I'm sure I know you well enough. I know there's going to be a community aspect to this call as well. But not only are we curious, but we are incurable sharers and mentors. If we hear that someone's having a problem, we'll go, come here, talk to us. Let's see what you're doing. Let's open up a computer. We'll sit together. And that is really what makes, when you hear about some new entrepreneur coming up with a new platform, you always go, okay, what problem do you think you're solving?
Yeah.
And they can't. And more often than not, they can't. And so when we get together with them, and they've seen it firsthand, they want us to break it. They want to know what's wrong. How can we make it better? But the fact of the matter is, only so many ways to do this.
And the problems have been solved before.
They have been. They've been solved mechanically, if you will. They've been solved manually. And so how then can we shorten that, increase velocity,
and here's
decrease latency?
When we think about all of the over-engineering of the science of hiring, even from data, even from the commoditization of data and data retrieval for contact information, do we really need AI in recruiting? The analog way works. Run a search, know the people you're outreaching, get them on the phone, introduce them to the hiring manager, have an opportunity that is something that they're going to want to accept. We could go through this entire exercise of over-engineering sourcing, do this talent engineer cosplay, and it still may not be as effective as to what has proven to be effective to date.
In theory, that sounds good. But in reality, it's this, things always hit a roadblock when humans get involved.
What are the biggest roadblocks right now?
There's several in our profession. Fear. If you don't really know what you're looking for, everything looks good or everything looks bad. I'll give you an example. Let's take my particular pet peeve. You're always going to hear me say, let's go further upstream. Let's go to where does this little stream, when do the drops start forming a trickle? Let's go back up as far there. And if you don't know what the real job is, what are you looking for? How will you know? No automation will make up for, a hiring manager not knowing what the real job is, not knowing what the real deliverables are, not knowing what really good, really bad looks like, but a recruiter who bobbleheads it and goes, okay, I'll find that person. But the biggest problem in this profession is people thinking that recruiting is easy. It's not. You can be average and still make a good living. You can be talent advisor. A lot of us have been throwing that around. You can ascend to that level in which you actually know not just the job, you know what performance is, you know what's coming down the pipe. You have your ear inside the organization. You know that these are the limitations of a hiring manager, the people on their team. But getting to that level is hard work.
Yeah.
How many technical recruiters, Brandon, don't know what API stands for?
Application programming interface.
And yet they have to decide whether someone is good at it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's the problem is humility. I almost think every recruiter has to hit rock bottom. You got to be pipped. You got to be fired, and hope you'll have a mirror at home which you look at yourself and you'll say, "What did I do? What didn't I do?" Mostly it's what didn't I do. And I hit rock bottom, man. I hit rock bottom. I was one of those. I knew I was good, but I was arrogant. My ego got in the way. I thought I knew better. And I had to have people put me in my place. I had to hit rock bottom before I said, I can't do this in this profession like this.
Can you
And
tell me more about that, Steve?
sure, I'm in my head as an engineer. In my head, I know things. And I've done things. It's just part of the job. And I had a temper growing up. I was pugilistic, and I would verbally or physically fight. That's not real. That's not a really good life. It's a good life skill to have on some level. Professionally, it's not. That's not a good approach to things. I thought I knew better, and I had to have coinciding with screwed up relationships and whatnot. You have a confluence of good and bad. You know what I'm talking about, Brandon, because you've been through it too.
Sure.
And so you have two choices. You come out of it as a kinder, gentler, more understanding human being, or you become bitter. And if life takes you down the bitter road, you're not going to take feedback well. You're not going to listen well. You're not going to explain. Life is hard. Work is hard. Nobody who succeeds has an easy go at it. And even the people who are multi-billionaires, you give a lot. You have to give up a lot to achieve a certain level. And so what finally got me around is I just became a consumer of information. I adopted lifelong learning. I'm going to read. I read voraciously on anything that I am recruiting for. If I get a new role that I've never learned, I've never done before, I have to become, in my head, as knowledgeable as a hiring manager of the role. There's no 1% below that. I have to be at that level because that's the only way I'm going to be able to advise them.
There's so many threads I want to pull on that follow-up because you've been a tremendous friend, mentor, collaborator, but let's keep it to the tactics of learning through doing. So I'm the same way. When I get a new rec, and maybe it's an iteration of a job title, maybe it's a business function, maybe it's a new industry, I'm the same way. I want to know as much as I can so that I can connect with the hiring manager and be credible, and also be able to speak the language of the candidates that I'm outreaching, because I don't process inbound hires. I go out and source and I recruit. And there's only one shot on goal to earn trust in that first call, because recruiters can learn through doing. Do you think some of these founders who have never been a recruiter can learn through doing as well as they develop software?
Baby, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Pet peeve, conference pet peeve of mine. Founder talks. Look, I'm happy that you've got investors. I'm happy that you're building this, but I've forgotten more about this stuff. And so here's what I'd like you to do. We can sit on the stage together. If founders are not letting the experienced people talk about it and then interjecting their point of view, all it is one big infomercial. And we're sick and tired of infomercials. I wish more founders would create an advisory board of people who actually know what they're talking about. There are plenty of great people, friends of ours, who would make fantastic advisors. And maybe that's what we do. Maybe we create a pool of those people and market them out to these companies so they have a perspective that they don't have. Because here's what's happened. Maybe they're YC babies. They got some people who are interested in their platform. And then they're trying to market it, put the logos and labels on the bottom, on a chyron on the bottom of their website. Look at these people. They love our stuff. I go, look, the people at those companies, if you add them all up together, they have less recruiting experience than you do. I mean, you, Brandon. I said, come on, it's fantastic that you have these people willing to talk about you, but they don't know, they have not hurt enough yet professionally to know whether your platform's actually going to be a Band-Aid. Yes, they can learn. You have to, but the interesting is if you have enough street cred in this profession, you go to these conferences, CEOs do sit and listen. It's not just me, it's all the people. We do the same thing. We'll take any demo. If you want to show me your product, your platform, I'll take a look at it and I'll tell you what I think. And I'll tell you why I think what I think, and some possible ways to remedy that or fix it. And then it's up to you what you want to do. You can't do any more than that, but I'll give you a freebie. And then, what you want to do after that, it's on you. But they have to work on a real job. Show me how your platform, this is my job I'm working on. Okay, you as a founder, show me how your platform addresses this. I'm just going to sit back and watch. And then we'll see what happens. That's long-winded. I know that. I'm sorry.
It's super simple. It's natural language processing. Say you're looking for a software engineer with 5 years of experience in San Francisco and watch the software do all the work for us.
Man, oh man, oh man. I was there when PCs came into organizations, and I literally lugged in these 42-pound behemoths in where I was working and hooked the cabled up, wrote software to allow these different machines to gateways between them. And I was there when Al Gore invented and turned on the internet and companies. That was a big moment. Those were the real early years of sourcing. And a lot of us got together. We figured, oh, look at that. It's an open door. Oh, the file cabinet's open. Let's see what's in there. And how can we go deeper? And this is a journey. It was Thomas Kuhn, The Structure of Scientific Revolution. Fantastic book. And there are these paradigm shifts. Personal computers, paradigm shift. Internet, paradigm shift. Distributed processing, paradigm shift. AI, paradigm shift. What's common to them? And humans together. And the irrational exuberance, the money being thrown around for everything AI is such that far too many people believe that it obviates the need to put the human in the loop, which is, I think, the tragic flaw that Isaac Asimov has wrote about decades ago. We shall see.
And when we think about what's happening with AI sourcing software, I go back to a website called Google versus Bing. And great sourcers would think, why is this query indexed in a different order? That's a great question to ask of whatever tool you're using to retrieve data from a database. So we've seen a decimation of sourcing software. It is no longer an annual recurring revenue business model. There are legacy players that had those per seat annual contracts, and then a couple vendors came along and started to commoditize it in an e-commerce play for $200 a month. So sourcing software is now a commodity. You could think of it like the internet or cable TV. We don't sit around and have conversations about, do you like your Comcast or do you like your Xfinity better? That's just not how we talk about broadband. And so now that we've seen the commoditization of candidate data, we're also seeing the commoditization of the recruiters themselves that put their names on these products. I'm sure you've received requests to endorse these products, these tools, but if these dime a dozen vendors come onto the scene and they want Steve Levy to put his name on this product so they can get some qualified leads within the next quarter so that they can sell and put a logo on their website and grow to pay back their investors, they are commoditizing you and your relevancy and your legacy that you have built, your reputation for 30 plus years in this industry, in the same way they are commoditizing candidate data. Is that endorsement worth $1,000 to you?
No, I don't do it. I just won't do it. I don't receive any money for any endorsements. None. I don't do paid because I don't endorse. I've been asked to do paid posts. I don't want to do it. There's only one company that I'm associated with, and you know who it is. It's Hire Easy. It's fine. I get platform use. I'm straight up about it. But I also tell people to owe it to yourself to try all the different platforms and see which ones works best for you.
And now it's never been easier because it's so cheap. Before, you were going to run, if you wanted to have the curiosity to say, why does Seek Out versus Hire Easy index the same query in a different order, you would have to pay both platforms $6,000 to $10,000 per year per seat. Now you can do this for $200 a month to A/B test your tools. And the reality is, all of these companies are piping their data in from a few different service providers.
They all get it from the same one.
And we know who that is. What up, Ben?
Yes. Yeah.
And when it comes to looking at the API call to whatever LLM lab they are contracted for that development cycle based on token cost, it's really just repackaging the same stuff. Do you truly think that there are certain platforms that are able to pull out those hidden, mysterious AI engineers that are going to take an offer for 0.1% equity and $300K?
No, it's at that, what you're asking with that question, are there any platforms that can effectively identify the signals? Because it's none of this is necessarily something that's hard-coded. It's all signals. And you may get a list of, for this reason, these 25. But then comes the human step, in my opinion. You can ask your favorite LLM to draft a message that it believes will resonate, but don't do that. I say, stand back. Ask yourself, how can I possibly get this person to even open my email, open my message, listen to me first?
Right there, you just said it. You just said it. How do I get them to open my email? All of these tools are just email deliverability companies.
And then, by the way, email, I can put in text message. I can put in take my call. I can put doesn't matter. Ultimately, it boils down to no system will get somebody to respond to you I call it curb appeal. I did this presentation back 12 years ago in which I talked about my messaging secrets. And I called it curb appeal. I kind of like the HGTV stuff. You drive, oh, I want that house. That looks so good from the curb. We don't think, these systems don't think like that. Where's the emotional curb appeal in that? It's not there yet. Now, I read Isaac Asimov's book when I was a youngster. He was still alive when Ray Bradbury was still alive. All these George Orwell, they're all still alive. I read all those books. We sat wide-eyed and we were told it was wonderfully presented in all those books of what the future could possibly look like. So I think there will come a time in which the chance of that becoming more of a reality. But right now, all these platforms do is deliver information. And it's incumbent upon the human in the loop to turn that information into insight and action. And that requires, you have to have some insight into human behavior and stuff of that. And how do you know what a really good relationship is, Brandon, until you screw up a good one?
Steve, that's so brilliant. And as we think about people in this space talking about
Stop. It's not that brilliant, Brandon. You take enough punches to the face, you go, I don't want to get hit in the face anymore. That hurts. Took me a long time to learn that lesson.
My first recruiting manager said I'd make it in recruiting if I had thick skin and a bright smile. And I haven't had the bright smile knocked out yet. And this industry has been through hell. A lot of our friends have been through hell. Now we see resurgence of borrowing engineering nomenclature. We have this naming convention where, 10 years ago, it was the full stack recruiter. Now it's the forward deployed recruiter, which we saw pop up. I'm an inward deployed recruiter. You talk about curiosity. You gave me shit for starting a webinar talk with a guided meditation. I grew up in my 20s reading Kerouac, Dharma bums, on the road, learning about human behavior, having curiosity about the world. As we think about the existential crisis, what do you think recruiters need to do today and in the next couple of years so that they can be the human in the loop instead of just the hiring manager or the recruiter next to them?
You have to just be more compassionate, massively more compassionate. These are not trinkets. Human beings are not commodities. One of the things I really despised about my time at Amazon was hearing engineers referred to as fungible. Seriously? Really? Fungible, just a piece easily replaceable, fungible assets. There's nothing more dehumanizing than dehumanizing a human. And yet, meta layoffs coming, they're all gonna do that. Last couple of weeks, many of us have been commenting on Anthropic's labor market report. Remember the thing I wrote there? Remember the article I wrote? I'm not the only one who has a point of view. And many of our friends, many people who spend much more time on this than I do have opinions on this one. But you can't shortcut understanding human beings. You can't read a book. You're not going to sling together all these different TikToks and understand humans. No, you're not. There are no life hacks to something as complicated as us two knuckleheads. There's no life hack to understanding it.
I don't think you could take a bunch of Paul Graham blog posts and turn it into the exchange of human behavior and revenue coming from a product that actually helps the recruiting industry. Recruiting from a first principles thinking is getting to a handshake yes. If you're a caveman and I'm a caveman and we need to push a boulder up a hill, well, you might know a caveman a couple caves over. That's recruiting. When we think about the advancements in technology, how many times have we seen vendors try and turn recruiting into a venture scalable business? Humans are really freaking smart. If it could have been solved, it would have been solved by now.
And yet, has anyone in this next wave learned that lesson yet?
I think it's back to the experience piece. It's great to have young folks get excited about something. I'm on a mission to meet the most passionate people in the world. And if they're recruiters, awesome. I just want to see people who can recruit.
I want to see people who are inquisitive enough. I want to know what the real job is. I want to know if the hiring manager makes some outlandish request that you don't go, okay, they're the boss. I want you to push back with data, with insight, know how to find the information and insight, and then present it to them on a lovely platter with a couple of side dipping sauces so they can enjoy their meal and ponder their recruiting choices. I want recruiters to know our profession is not a service profession.
Correct. We need to stop this whole white glove service.
It's a performance. And if a hiring manager is adamant that only of these 10 companies will do, well, then you have a homogeneity problem.
Let's talk about that.
Or put in a more vernacular, incest is only relative. But that's what it is. If you create a family that is the exact same gene pool, you're going to get a couple of genetic abnormalities down the line. You're going to get groupthink. You're going to get the inability to question, because we all come to the same background. I know how you think. No, you don't.
So one of the core elements of talent engineering is network mapping. And we talk about talent density from a recruiting perspective. This is as simple as having a hit list. You're hiring for a certain company and industry. You make a list of those 20 to 30 companies to engineer the data retrieval of the individuals that worked at those companies at a certain point in time. These are the problems being solved by talent engineering. But you already said it. If we are just accelerating the time to retrieving that data, by default, talent density and recruiting with that strategy is just deferring to the source company's hiring practice at the time.
All it is. And how do you know? See, the one thing that we're not doing is we're not mapping that to performance. Okay, this company has had X number of layoffs, but we still want their people. This company I know a lot about their product development cycle, and is really turgid, and it's not fast paced. I know why people think it is, but it isn't. If you don't know these things, you'll never question them.
100%. So what do we do? Like, how do we get more diverse perspectives and more representation into those talent pools so that we're not just accelerating the delivery of contact data retrieval from a database from somebody who worked at X blue chip startup company when they might have been shipping cool features?
A long time ago, there was an American Airlines commercial. Don't know if you're old enough to remember it, but it's a manufacturing floor, I believe, and the boss calls in all his people. We're going to do something different today. He gives plane tickets to all his people. We're going to start visiting our customers. We're going to give them a human touch. What about you, boss? I'm going to go to the customer who fired us today. It's stuff like that. We need to get our arses out away from the damn computer and meet people in real life. What better way to do that? I make offers when I hear of companies doing large-scale layoffs. I'm in New York, and I'll have a contact at the company. I'll go, can you get the word out? I will meet 1, 5, 10, 15, all in one place. I'll spend as much time with them as possible, just so they get a human face in the loop when it comes to this. Get out. Don't hide behind your emails. Don't hide behind your in-malls. Don't hide behind your text messages. You know, these things, they're magic. You can talk to people on these. What an invention. You can actually talk to people. You can actually see them. What?
I love it.
Go to whomever it is you covet. Find out where they congregate. Just go and talk to people. Literally, get shirts that say with a QR code on the back, scan me, tap my shoulder to talk to me, or something like that. But get more human. As tech as I am, Brandon, get more human.
Because I think we're going to see candidates respond to more analog, pattern disruptive approaches. I've heard things from my friends that have kids who are Gen Alpha, and they do things like leave their phone at home for pizza night. A few years ago on Fish Tour, on Fish Tour, it was really popular for Gen Z to bring disposable cameras. And the reality is the younger generation hasn't experienced the novelty of the freedom of your brain to not be tied to this device. Even I struggle at times where I'm like, man, I crave for that feeling of being 12 or 13 on my BMX bike and being able to leave for a day and not have the impulsivity to check. Remember when you could put an away message on AOL Instant Message and actually leave for a day? I feel like what we're going to see from candidates is they're going to respond to the novelty of pattern disruption. And it really just comes down to something you said earlier, is how bad do you want to be great? You can be a decent recruiter and make a living, but if you want to be great, it's going to take a little bit of extra effort. And sometimes that extra effort is showing up physically. Quick story. I had a founder and we had a specific search. We isolated the company we needed to hire somebody from, and we had a one-on-one shot on goal. There was one person the founder wanted. And when it came down to offer, on a Thursday, I told the founder, I was like, hey, we're delivering the offer. They're in New York. I can hop on a plane and take them out to dinner Saturday. And the founder, who had maybe a job for a year, laughed. Their response, they laughed. They didn't think that I was serious about spending $2,000 to go close a candidate that their first year comp was like 350, 380, 400. I can't remember specifically. It's like, why wouldn't we show up and take them out and deliver that offer in person? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
So I think that's one example. You don't have to jump on an airplane. It's something that I'm always willing to do because also that's the DOPA hit. When you get a candidate that shakes your hand and says yes and signs in front of you, what's cooler than that as a recruiter? You just did your job. Now you just got to make sure they show up on Monday.
That's a different issue, but that's for a different session.
So as we think about heading into the year, it's conference season. I'm on the road tomorrow as we are recording this.
Yes.
What advice do you have for that SDR at a recruiting tech company whose job is to scan badges to get a qualified lead into their meeting bookings?
Sit down with them and ask them, why are you here? Why are you here? Why would you spend the money to come here? And then just listen. Not tell me about your problem. Why are you here? They won't expect that. See, that's the thing. We seem to have become over-conditioned into thinking that there's some complex solution, complex way to handle it. And there's not. There was a book, Robert Urey, it was called Getting to Yes, the Harvard Communication Project, Robert Urey, URY, 1981, I think it was. And it's all about little yeses. Why are you here? Not, are you looking for a new platform for this? Yes. No, that's stupid. Why are you here? And then see where it takes you.
It's interesting. There was a post that I shared with you, and it was like a sales rep at a recruiting tech company who's been literally in the industry for less than 90 days. And it was like fear-based selling for recruiters. Don't get left behind. And my advice to this person, if they're showing up, is be candid, be curious. Recruiters, we are often highly discerning when it comes to human character. That's literally HR's job, is to make decisions around risk based on policy, human behavior, and human character. It's so much easier to show up and be like, hey, what's up? I'm new to this industry. I'm really excited to learn. I want to work in recruiting tech software because in 5 years, I want to be selling enterprise software in a different, sexier industry. But yet we have so many folks in their 20s show up and cosplay some sort of B2B sales rep imagery, self-aggrandization that they know better than the guy who can pick up the phone and get you that engineer who doesn't have a digital profile.
There's a competition. It's not easy being Gen Z, Gen Alpha. It's hard. It's really hard because you look around the world and things, good, bad, and ugly. You've been told what to covet. You've been told what carrot you should be going after your whole life, and very few get there. But you are marketed, you are accosted regularly to the point where you think that's the only solution. Get the hell out. Just get it. And it's not. The best skill that it takes heartache to learn it is being human. It's hard. You don't learn about relationships, both of us, until you go through a divorce. And even then, you don't learn it at the moment. Sometimes it takes a while to sink in. You can't have, this was the Khalil Gibran, the prophet. How you know the highest highs if you don't know the depth of the valleys? You don't. Above all, gosh, you have to be patient. Patience is not viewed as much of a valued thing as it used to be.
When you talk about earlier, like that rock bottom, when I see some of these behaviors that are borrowed or tried on, the easiest thing you can do is throw away the shovel. Humility is the antithesis of the male ego in VC. And when we see these huge egos come in, you've already said it. The core to great recruiting is curiosity. It just doesn't align. They're diametrically opposed.
I look at the people who are getting really work, like Aaron. Aaron is one of the hardest workers in the room. You have another one over at Black and Veatch with Aaron Lynch, Ashley Surratt, one of the hardest workers in the room. And you see their trajectory. And you know what they have in common? Not only are they the hardest workers in the room, they work hardest at giving it back. And if there's anything else that I'd like to see folks in this profession take away with them is give as good as you get. And always end the stuff with saying, did I help you? Did this meet your expectations? And ask them to be honest.
Put it in a case study and splash their logo on your website.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then send T-shirts. Don't forget to send T-shirts.
Steve, this has been one hell of an unboxing today from a brawler, a boxer, a mentor, a friend. When I say Uncle Steve, please know I mean it. You've been such a friend to me. You've been so supportive to me. I never forget some of the most impactful lessons you've taught me one-on-one. So thank you. Your legacy is truly
I'm not-
unmatched. Thanks, Steve.
Okay. I'll talk to you later.
Love you.
Bye. Bye.